page 26. Om homage to you, Bhagavati Ayatara. Homage to Tara, swift and courageous, gazes as quick as flashes of lightning. From Lord of Triloka, his face like a lotus. You rose on a billion-fold blossoming stamens. Homage to you with a face that resembles a meeting of 100 full moons in autumn. And who with the brightness of stars by the thousands shine in a vast perfect light of resplendence. Homage to you, the golden-hued lady, whose hand is adorned by a blue lotus flower. Your scope of activity is giving exertion, fortitude, peace, tolerance, meditation. Homage to you, the victorious, boundless, from the Tathagata's crown emanated. Those who obtain every transcendent virtue, offspring of victors, rely on your guidance. Homage to you, filling the realm of desire, its aspect and space with the Hung and Tuttara. Sevenfold worlds under feet you can trample. You bring all and everything under your power. Homage to you who is worshipped by Indra, Agni, Maru, Vishwara and Brahma. All the Vetalas, Buddhas, Gandharvas, as well as the Yakshas give praise in your presence. Homage to you who by tread and the path sounds crush every magical wheel, evil forces. Right leg extended and left bent you trample. Within reeling frames you are blazing intensely. Homage to you, the swift terrifying, who conquers the most tenacious of Maras, knitting the brow on your lotus-like features. Thou an exception. Homage to you with your fingers in mudra, adorning your heart to show the three jewels. Your masses of light are beautiful swirling, connecting with every direction in circles. Homage to you from your crown manifesting joyous, majestic, brilliant garlands. With the great clangor of laughter to Tara, demons and worlds are in your domination. Homage to you with the magnetized powers, who gather protectors of earth in assembly. With syllable Hung and you brow which is frowning, you liberate every poor destitute being. Homage to you with the crescent and moon crown, while your adornments so brilliantly sparkle. And Amitabha is placed in your top knot, ceaselessly vast rays of light radiating. Homage to you seated in flaming garlands, engulfed in a fire like the end of the Kalpa. Right leg extended and left bent defeating enemy horse with your joy-bringing swirling. Homage to you with your palms you are striking the earth while using your feet to be stamping. Regally frowning with the Hung letter, you shatter the sevenfold layers of locusts. Homage to you, blissful, virtuous and peaceful. Enjoy the domain of the tranquil nirvana. Sing the Om and the Swaha. You overcome even the greatest of evils. Homage to you who encircled by joyous, utterly smashes the forms of opponents, clearing away with the hum of awareness, arranges the mantra by tenfold of letters. Homage to you with feet stamping Ture, fully presenting the form of the Hong seed. You cause the three worlds to all be a tremble, including Mount Meru, Mandara, and Vindhya. Homage to you in whose hand is a deer marked, shaped like the head and twice uttered Tara. Without an exception, dispels every poison. Homage to you who is asked for your guidance by rulers of devas, by gods and kinnaras. Your armor of joy, a radiant brightness, removes every nightmare and calms every quarrel. Homage to you whose two eyes are shining with brilliant light like the sun and the full moon. By Tuttara and with the twice chanted Hara, you clear away even infectious diseases. Homage to you who can come down completely through the array of the threefold suchness. Crowds of Vetalas, Buddhas and Yakshas, suppressed with the Ture sublime Mother Tara. So these 21 homages to Tara. So it is often the case in the Buddhist tradition, and perhaps even overall, I think, in the South Asian Indian context, that first a particular mantra or a particular dharani, or in this case a particular set of homages, prayers, would first emerge and circulate. And then a while later, some iconographic, some iconographic humanoid, you could say, or human-like figure begins to be associated with the mantra or the dharani, briefly you could say long mantra, or in this case the 21 homages. So then from here, the 21 homages, the tradition of having 21 representations of Tara came about. So it's quite clear, this pattern. First, the chant, the incantation, the spell, the mantra, the praise, in this case the homages, and then over time specific forms of Tara emerge to kind of match these 21. And so this is then the tradition of the 21 Taras. So even in the tradition of the 21 Taras and the representations of the 21 Taras, there are several traditions. If you were to divide them, you could say basically there are two main traditions. One tradition is the one represented here, which is more or less, when you look at each of them, they look identical. They look identical. So meaning identical to the central Tara, to green Tara, seated, two hands, seated with the right leg slightly extended, the left in the folded in. So this posture of seated with right leg slightly extended and left folded in, sometimes it's called the position of royal ease. Like a king would sit kind of in a regal way, but yet relaxed, the ease. Here often the explanation is that green Tara or Tara in general sits like that because she is quick to step off, so to say, to step off from the unmoving position and to intervene to rescue her devotees. So that's the typical representation of Tara. Then the 21 forms of Tara that arose from this main Tara. One tradition is to represent them in this manner. Clearly easier to reproduce, easier to cast, easier to paint. Second tradition is the tradition of representing the 21 in a way that matches more closely these 21 praises. And so you may have noticed it says, it's like she is like stamping her feet. So then tends to be represented standing. And also multiple arms. Holding various, implements or weapons in her hands. So that's the other tradition. Then among the tradition of representing her more or less identical with the main Tara, there are also variations. So one variation has her holding, so her left hand, so her basic representation, right, is with her right hand held in this mudra. So this is called the mudra or the gesture of giving, of generosity, of giving. So generally, whether it's Tara or anyone, whenever is this mudra is the mudra of generosity, the mudra of giving. This mudra, on the other hand, is called the mudra of the three jewels. The mudra, the three jewels. Don't ask me why the ring finger is standing in between. Does it mean that the Sangha jewel, this one, is less? No, there's no explanation. It's just how it is, okay? And so this is called the mudra of three jewels, like this. Ring finger touching the thumb. So this is held like this here. On her left hand holds the three jewels mudra. Then from the three jewels mudra, she is holding blue lotus, which is called Utpala in Sanskrit. Utpala, which is the blue lotus. In some more detailed description of the Utpala, it says that she actually holds blossoms of Utpala that are in three stages of a typical blossom's life. So one is fully blooming, one is yet to open, and the third one is actually wilted. But these days, when you look at most paintings of Tara, you don't see these three. But there are some sadhana texts that I have come across that describes fully blossoming, yet to open bud, and wilted. So it's said that this represents the bud is all the Buddhas that are yet to appear in the world. The blossoming are all the Buddhas that are present and actively liberating beings. And the wilted is all the Buddhas that have passed away. So then, here is said that she is the mother or the source of all Buddhas of the past, present, and future. So in that identity, she is also known as the perfection of wisdom. Prajna Paramita. For the perfection of wisdom is often called the mother of all Buddhas. The mother of all Buddhas. For all Buddhas arise ultimately from the paramita or the perfection of wisdom, clear seeing, seeing without any confusion. So left hand she holds this way, right hand she holds in the gesture of giving. So in that second tradition, a variation, and this variation is often called the Atisha tradition of representing the 21 taras. In that tradition, in her right hand she holds a vase. And that vase has different colors. And she also, her complexion is in different colors. That's how they differentiate the 21 taras. That's called the Atisha tradition of representing the 21 taras. Then, probably, I would say, from the Atisha tradition, later in Tibet, several other traditions arose, inspired by the Atisha tradition. So there's another tradition which also has Tara represented in this way, yeah, but variations in the respective colors, and that is a tradition that arose from a treasure tradition, a dharma tradition. So then, in that case, attributing that tradition to Pemasambhava, because Pemasambhava is generally said to be the one who concealed all these treasures in the landscape of Tibet, in the minds of future Tibetans, to be retrieved and revealed and taught to others in the right time in history. That is the Longchen Nyingtik tradition. Has a tradition of 21 taras with slightly different color schemes, color systems from the Atisha tradition. Atisha is 10th, 11th century. So then from the Longchen Nyingtik, the Tertun was Jigme Lingpa. Then closer to our time, another one of these treasure discoverers of the Nyingma tradition, Chogyo Lingpa, has a tradition of 21 taras. Again, left hand holding the 3 jewels mudra with a lotus flower, and right hand in the gesture of generosity. Now, in this case, in the Chogyo Lingpa, the way that it differs from the other traditions of basically two-handed seated Tara is each of the Tara is distinguished by something that appears on the lotus. So it's no longer just a lotus, but the lotus supports a particular symbol. And this is the set that we have here, the Chogyo Lingpa tradition. So maybe during break, if you remember, you can come up and take a look and see. On each of the lotus, there is a different symbol. Sometimes a wheel, sometimes a spike, sometimes a moon, sometimes what else? A hook. And with one exception here in the Chogyo Lingpa, one of the taras has a different hairdo. The really wrathful one here. And also her hands are both held together, and in between her hands she rolls a tent spike, what you used to hold down. And so it's a purba, a kila. She holds it like this, and her hair is flaming up. If you're hung at Urban Dharma long enough, you know that our original Tara with the different hairdo and position walked away in our first temple. Yeah, one day she was there, next day she was gone. Took off. Somebody may have facilitated the taking off. Our volunteer had a feeling it was one particular Tara assistant that facilitated her escape into the world. Then eventually we got a replacement. So this is the Chogyulingpa tradition of the 21 Taras. And then you may see that we have these necklaces, beaded necklaces, which I'm noticing need some fixing. It's good merit if you see things like that and you go fix it. That means paying attention. So my Tibetan friends and Bhutanese friends would tell me that there is you could say a tradition of maybe a very nice folk tradition, or however you want to look at it, of like every time you travel, you get something for Tara, an ornament that you bring back and you offer to Tara. So Tara statues tend to have lots of offerings of jewelry. So that's in part these beaded necklaces that we offer to Tara. This main Tara here also has a set of jewelry, which one of the members who likes making jewelry offered that to Lady Tara. At the Forest Hermitage Dharma Hall, aside from the main shrine, which is an image 4 to 5 feet of the Buddha, a stone image of the Buddha, and these two chief disciples, or disciples that succeeded the Buddha, his cousin and a faithful attendant, Ananda, the oldest senior monk that survived the Buddha, Mahakāśyapa. So these two are going up there. They have been temporarily standing guard here. Their intention is that they are going up. And then aside from these three main, to the right and left are two other statues, and this one also. Kyopa Jigten Sumgön, founder of the lineage, he's going up there, and we're waiting for the arrival. I think it just left Nepal. Shipping is complicated these days. Just left Nepal. A statue same size as Jigten Sumgön of Tara will be up at the Hermitage. Joyfully, happily, these two statues, the main Buddha statue, Jigten Sumgön, and Tara, have been offered by people inspired. We have a registry for outfitting the temple, and almost immediately after it went up, the Tara statue was still unaccounted for, but somebody clicked and accounted for it. And so the Tara statue is on her way. Yeah. So these 21 homages, again, if you step back into kind of when it, first surfaced in India, again, it's it's recognizable to the Indian context, to the Indian audience, what's going on here. You could say it's a particular strategy, or there's some fancy term for this in the religious studies world. I forgot this term already. I took off that hat a while back. But there's a fancy term of like that there is this pattern in Indian religion where, first of all, in South Asia, yeah, and I don't think it's accurate to say Hinduism. It's just South Asian religion, yeah. So in South Asian religion, there's this tendency of, like, on the one hand saying there are 330 million gods and goddesses. So there are 330 million gods and goddesses. Right? But then each of these gods and goddesses is said to also include the other 330 million minus one. I don't know what that number is. But 330 million minus one. So any one of the 330 million is said to include all the others. So this phrase that modern Hindu traditions like to use is unity in diversity. So the unity is, so if your God of choice, which is actually where the Buddhist, the Tibetan term idam is a translation of the Sanskrit Ishta Devata, which is basically, your God, Devata, Ishta, your God of choice. Yeah, So some people, like, just plain vanilla, and some people like Rocky Road. Yeah? So Baskin Robbins, 31. This is 330 million. Yeah? You may sometimes, if your choice is pistachio, once in a while, maybe you're like, oh, it's in season, I'll try the strawberry. But you come back to pistachio. But then you also know it's basically ice cream. Yeah? So in Indian religion tend to have this pattern. You see this. So then when monotheistic traditions come and insist there's only one, for most of Indian history is kind of like incomprehensible. Like, why? But it's interesting, I think. Sometimes people think, monotheism is more evolved, like one God, and then, sometimes one God and one anti-God, right? But for many cultures, that's not the given. It's like one. Why? I remember attending a talk by this rather eccentric, but famous. And when you're famous, you get to be eccentric, I suppose. Architectural history, and was also an architect at Harvard. I think he's passed away now. I was a graduate student, and he was giving a talk about the Ise shrine, the most sacred of shrines in the Shinto tradition in Japan. How every 12 years they have to dismantle every single piece of the shrine and rebuild it. Maybe 60 years. 12 years seems too soon. Anyway, this point that he made, he said, somehow his lecture he strayed off to Bali, and then he made a comment. He was like, only people who live in the desert can come up with the idea of one God and one anti-God. He says, because all the shadows and the light is so, clear. And it says, no one who grew up, who lived in a place like Bali would come up with this crazy idea that there's only yes or no. He's saying everything is shades of everything, and all kinds of colors, and all kinds of green, all over the place. So India is definitely one of these places where all kinds of colors, all kinds of shapes, all kinds of smells, And in fact, it's if you've never been to India, and if you have, you know what I'm talking about. One phrase to characterize India would be sensory overload. Yeah, everything is. Colors are brighter, sounds are louder, smells are stronger, contrasting texture are more obvious. You know, everything. In that sense, very different from the other Asian culture, Japan. Everything is subtle. Nothing is in your face. Everything is subtle. But South Asia is just the complete opposite. Everything is loud and clear. So in this 21 homages to Tara, you can see like each of the homage is identifying Tara with some goddess figure known to Indians, familiar to Indians. So then it's saying, in fact, all these goddesses that you guys look to, worship, they are all the enlightened, awakened activity of Tara. Of Tara. Now, in the Buddhist context, Tara definitely has the relative aspect of Tara has more than one story of how Tara became Tara. Several different stories. So, Tara origins. There are several different stories of how Tara came to be. But even that, we say that's the relative aspect of Tara. The ultimate aspect of Tara is not a person. You could say then the principle. So ultimate and relative are kind of familiar Buddhist terms, right? The two truths, the ultimate and the relative. And you can also say basically the principle of Tara and how that principle plays out. How it plays out then, there are stories of origins of Tara. And in which there are several. And several stories of origin never resulted in Buddhists trying to figure out which one is more real, or which one is more accurate, or which one is more, original, because they are all said to be the origin stories of Tara. Because each of these stories is emphasizing some other aspect of that principle. Some of the aspect of that principle. So one story tells how, and this story, this first story of the origins of Tara, associates Tara with Avalokiteshvara, and therefore by that association to Amitabha. And that is why in the text that we're using, it's said that the lord of the family that Tara belongs to is Amitabha. And yesterday I kind of cheekily said, that's because, she married into the family. Then she, but her native family is the Amoghasiddhi as lord of the family, as the main Buddha of the family. So this family business is talking about the 5 Buddha families, the 5 principles. So anyway, this first story is that basically the short version is, the short version starts with Avalokiteshvara, who is called the Bodhisattva of compassion in Mahayana tradition. In the great vehicle tradition, Avalokiteshvara is identified as this great exemplar of compassion. And furthermore, in this story, it says that he was a disciple. He is a disciple of the Buddha Amitabha. In fact, Avalokiteshvara is the chief disciple of Amitabha. And so Avalokiteshvara is trained by Amitabha, has Amitabha as his root main teacher, root guru, main teacher. And so it's said that at one initial in Avalokiteshvara's kind of evolution, right? At one stage, Avalokiteshvara thought that his activities have succeeded in liberating all beings from this cycle of birth and death. That he has basically emptied out all of samsara, all of cyclic existence, all of confused existence. And so happily he went to his teacher to report that he has fulfilled his vow of liberating all beings. And it said that at that point, Amitabha, his teacher, said, "Oh, I'm sure you think so, but that's not the case." So then Amitabha says, "Now take another look." And so Avalokiteshvara looked again, and confused existence which he thought he has helped emptied is all filled up again. By the way, the filling up is not the case that the ones that he helped deliver to freedom and liberation somehow tumbled down. No, it filled up because from other world systems they are turning up. So we talk about the Buddhist view of the universe is a multiverse. Even before this term became popular in pop culture, it's not a universe, it's multiverse. So beings are infinite. Confused existence is, in a way, inexhaustible. So it's said that at that point now, even this story goes in two directions. In one direction is a little more violent. In this one version, which is not related to Tara, but I'll tell you anyway, it said that Avalokiteshvara fainted, but also literally his head exploded in its grief. And burst open into 10 pieces. And it said that then Amitabha brought the 10 pieces together, and now Avalokiteshvara has 10 heads. And that's the tradition of the 11-headed Avalokiteshvara. We have one Tanka there, and then at the very top is Amitabha, so it's called the 11-headed Avalokiteshvara. The big Tanka there, that big scroll there, which by the way is applique. I don't know if you have looked closely, but it's not painted. It's a cloth pieced together. Kind of fancy technique. So that's one tradition of where the 11-headed Avalokiteshvara came from. The Tara story is a little more gentle. So it said that when Avalokiteshvara realized and saw for the first time, despite working so hard for so long to help free beings from confusion and suffering, almost immediately samsara is filled up again. And from there it said that he shed tears. And when these teardrops fell onto the ground, it turned into a lake. And from within the lake, 2 lotus flowers blossomed. and two goddesses were born from the lotus. Brikruti, which is a wrathful goddess. Literally, the name is frowning brow. And the other one is Tara. That they both emerged and came to Avalokiteshvara and said, don't be discouraged. We will assist you in this work that you have committed yourself to. So these Brikruti and Tara are the two goddesses. Bhrkuti, Brikruti. Yeah. Later in Tibet, it is said that the first Dharma king of Tibet, King Songtsen Gampo, a historical figure, became such a powerful king in the Asian region that he was able to obtain two queens. So in the ancient world, daughters are part of international relations, as in daughters of kings and emperors. You don't willy-nilly marry your daughters off. It's usually used as part of, State Department diplomacy. So maybe they should insert some daughter into the talks in Iran now. Like when that guy is your son-in-law, you think twice, before starting a conflict. Although notoriously, sons would kill off fathers to become emperor, right? Somehow, son-in-laws are more restrained. And so they were marrying daughters off left and right. And so the emperor of China married off his daughter to the Tibetan emperor, and the emperor of Nepal married off the daughter to King Songtsen Gampo. And each of them brought as part of their dowry a very sacred statue of the Buddha. And so it's said that's how Buddhism got its first foot into the Tibetan world, is through this emperor. And it turns out Songtsen Gampo is said to be an emanation of Avalokiteshvara, and Tara is emanated as the Chinese princess, and Brikruti is the emanation of the Nepali princess. So Brikruti and Tara and Avalokiteshvara, the first Dharma king of Tibet. So this is one origin story of Tara, that she emerged from the lake that came out of a teardrop of Avalokiteshvara. There is another story that places the story of Tara not so far back in time and so primordial, so to say. Right? That story is pretty primordial. There's another story that places her in a more understandable time frame, which is like Star Trek, or was it Star Wars? Far, far away in another universe. What? Long time ago. Yeah, in a galaxy far, far away. Yeah, so it also starts like this. There was a princess of a king, of a kingdom, who, instead of going along with that, marrying off, daughters again as diplomacy, she said, "No, I'm a Dharma practitioner. I have no interest." And so she resisted that. So then the father, left her alone and let her, practice Dharma. Then she, in her time, there was a Buddha. Yeah, in her time there was a Buddha. So here I will just read to you. Yeah, Yeah. See, at the time in the inconceivably distant past, far, long time ago in a galaxy called the Light of Myriad Worlds. See, Star Wars stole it from Buddhist. There was a Buddha named Sound of a Drum, whose teachings were revered by a girl of the royal caste called Moon of Primordial Wisdom. So for 1,000 periods of 10 million years, she venerated that Buddha and his entourage, which consists of countless Shravakas and Bodhisattvas. And so until finally she was mature, her you could say her spiritual evolution reached a point where she definitively took the Bodhisattva vow, gave rise to bodhicitta. So it's said that at that time when she generated bodhicitta, it was a great occasion. Everyone was very happy. The Buddha praised her in front of everyone. Then it's said that some monks in that Buddha's assembly decided to help her and said to her, "It would be fitting for you to pray that by the roots of these virtues, may you assume a male form in your next life. In that way, you can better serve all beings. In that way, you can more effectively fulfill your vow." So what that shows us is, this idea, right? That the female body and even the spirit, in fact, that's the connotation here. Femininity, then here, in this context, is associated with lack of effectiveness, lack of power. So that's what's behind these monks. You should, vow to become this. The girl replied by saying, this is what she said to these monks: "Here is no man, no woman, no self, no person, and no perception. These designations of male and female are meaningless, yet they foster the ignoble attitudes that delude the world." Feminism, way back. It's an interesting statement. Somewhere in the New Testament too, like in Christ there's no male or female. So this point, right? Here is no man, no woman, no self, no person, and no perception. And so it's stating how the aggregates, they are only temporary shifting conditions. And so this is sort of like the first two lines is stating the truth about things, male, female, self, persons. And then this point about no perception is saying, in a way, it's your perception that also gives rise to these ideas. Strong, not strong, able, not able, so on and so forth. It says, but in essence, there's no such thing. They're just temporarily existing conditions. But the next two lines are also, I think, important to really listen to what it's saying. These designations of male and female are meaningless, right? Given the first two lines, right? Here, there's no man, no woman, no self, no person, no perception. But the last line, yet, right, these designations foster ignoble attitudes that delude the world. So, there may not be, any reality to these labels, but yet these labels have fostered such ignoble attitudes. She then pledged, there are many who desire awakening in a man's body, yet none at all who enact the welfare of wandering beings with the body of a woman. Thus, for as long as samsara endures, I shall work for the benefit of wandering beings in female form. Yes. So that was the vow that she made. Right? That was the vow that she made. But before the yes is too loud, I will point out that she says fundamentally there isn't. And this story is really made to make this point, that her determination is so strong. She's almost like, to spite these monks, he says, I'll do it the hard way. I'll show it to you. Because they were not necessarily, this story is not necessarily painting them as sexist or whatever. It's just her turning things around and said, you think I'm going to take the easy way out? I'm going to do it the hard way. And that's kind of the point here. It's like, I'm going to do it the hard way. I'm going to outdo all of you. So it's like that gusto, So whether you actually take this vow or not, the more basic lesson for all of us is enlightenment for the sake of all beings are not for wimps. Whenever the road forks, the easier way, the hard way, take the hard way. At least have that attitude, at least, entertain the attitude. So that goes back to my point about the most dangerous word these days is convenience. To do it the convenient way. Because it can be so convincing, oh, Dharma practice. Oh, much more convenient. If I just zoom from my house. Convenience. If you're far, far away, of course, wonderful, But if you just live down the road, you're like, I don't want to put on clothes. Turn off the video. Just sit in whatever I woke up in. I can just wake up 5 minutes before, walk around, make my coffee, as they are chanting verses of praise to 21 Taras. It's not going to work. So she said, I'm going to do it this way. So which means, Tara, then this princess made this vow. Then for the next hundreds of thousands and millions of years, she remained in the king's palace. So this is a universe, a time, a place where people live long, and then long time. While enjoying the 5 objects of desire, she attained the forbearance of unborn phenomena through meditative concentration such as liberating all beings. This enabled her to establish hundreds of thousands of millions of sentient beings on the level of forbearance every day. She would not eat until she had done so. Every afternoon, too, she established that many beings in that state, thus earning the name Tara. Later in the eon known as victorious in the presence of Buddha Amoghasiddhi, so this is where she gets associated with the Karma family, the Lord of the family, the unfailing Buddha, Buddha Amoga Siddhi. She pledged to liberate sentient beings from what causes them harm. So this is where she specialized in swift rescue from dangerous situations. So throughout Tibetan Himalayan cultures, Tara is the word, is the name that comes out of the mouth whenever in times of danger. It's instinctive, you know. For 95 eons, she dwelt in the meditative absorption called completely vanquishing all demons, every day placing hundreds of thousands of millions of foremost beings in states of concentration, and every night subduing tens of hundreds of thousands of millions of demons. Yeah, Mahayana. Blah 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 blah. Thus, more so actually Indian. Indian have names for zeros that we end in. What does English end? Trillion? Maybe there's more.
Yeah, there is, but it's not very common.
Yeah, it's not very commonly used, but Indians have way more.
Way more.
Yeah, you remember Lalita Vistara that we chanted?
Yeah, the whole paragraph.
That's a
Next multitude exists.
yes,
And
that's you know, and it goes from 1 to 10 to 100 to 1,000, and it's like ways of counting. It just goes on and on and on and on and on. Indians and numbers are just. That's why they are in Silicon Valley. They're good with numbers, There's this stand-up comedian, this Indian woman, Zara, I think. Maybe some of you have seen on Facebook. She turns up on my feed from time to time. And I remember this was when people saw these balloons floating across the U.S., And she's joking about this. It's just like, I really feel bad for these Chinese. She goes, I really feel bad for these Chinese. She's like, you know why? Because what is this? Floating balloons across the U.S.? We Indians just took over Silicon Valley. We control the spying even much better than those Chinese. It's like they're just floating balloons across the continent. Thus she came to be known under such names as Tara, which means the Savioress, the empathetic, the sympathetic, the swift, and the heroic. Later in the eon, unimpeded, all the Buddhas bestowed the empowerment of the great rays of light upon the fully ordained monk Vimala, who thus became Avalokiteshvara. And so here then they tell the story of the tear as another layer. And then during the age of perfection of that very eon on Mount Potala, Avalokiteshvara taught the Tara Tantra in 10 million verses. The version in 600,000 verses emerged during the threefold age, that in the 1,200,000 verses during the twofold age, and the abbreviated version in 1,000 verses emerged during the age of strife. In particular, our teacher, meaning the Buddha Shakyamuni, committed to enacting the deeds of a Buddha to sentient beings, was dwelling in the essence of awakening at the base of the tree. Now we're talking about Shakyamuni in Bodh Gaya in India, under the Bodhi tree. When he filled Mara's realm with rays of light from his mid-eyebrow, a host of Mara's minions, here is the number, 10 quintillion in number, rushed forward only to faint and be laid low by Tara's laughing the 8 laughs. So here, at least in this account, it says, Tara had a role to play during the subduing of the Maras by the Buddha Shakyamuni. It says that Tara emerged from Buddha Shakyamuni, and her laughter caused these Maras to just all fall away. A light came from the center of Buddha Shakyamuni's forehead, and it became Tara laughing the 8 laughs. And so she has, many different stories of origins. The very first verse here, homage to Tara, swift and courageous, gaze is as quick as flashes of lightning. From Lord of Triloka, his face like a lotus, you rose on a billion-fold blossoming stamens. That is a reference to that story. Lord of Triloka is Avalokiteshvara. So it's whose face is like a lotus, and you, as in Tara, rose on a billion-fold blossoming stamens. And so this is a reference to the story of Avalokiteshvara tearing up, and the tear becoming a lake. From the lake, Tara arose.
Don't you think, from our perspective, both of those stories represent the feminine feeling side, the power of that side being necessary to rescue you?
Yeah. So Tara, is often called also the activity, right? The Buddha activity, the exalted activities of all Buddhas. So, in a way, you can say that Tara then is the active doing of compassion, whereas Avalokiteshvara, they're not two persons in the end, right? We're talking about a particular principle or quality and how that quality plays out.
But there's that feeling side, the tears, the falling apart,
Yes.
or confronting the Mara.
Yes.
You have to bring that, you have to experience that side.
Yeah, you have to experience that side, and then from that side arose effective actions in the world.
The movement comes.
Yeah. And it's interesting that they associate doings with feminine.
Rather than,
Yeah.
That's actually
Well, if you go to Asia and you look around, that's kind of true. Guys are just sitting around doing nothing in particular. It's true here too, I suppose. Yeah.
But the stories also show the confusion of the misogynist feudal cultures, of how to relate to that.
Yeah.
even in the Bible, it's the wisdom is feminine. It's listed as feminine. So
Well, here the action, the skillful means is identified as female. Yeah. In other contexts, of course, perfection of wisdom is feminine. And so, again, at the end, all these kind of falls apart when you try to track to, and then it's also her point. Go beyond. Go beyond. So, monastic, for example, monastic appearance, monastic life, in some ways, you could say, is the Buddhist version of what is now the expression now, the third sex. Yeah? Not male, not female. It's going beyond. And so, deliberately, like the Buddha's, what to wear and all that, the monastic is not to distinguish between the male and the female. All hair shaved off. In some traditions, even eyebrows, shaved off, and asserting the beyond duality in a very concrete way. Beyond duality. I remember this good friend of mine from graduate school who was a Korean nun, non-traditional age graduate student, even though usually graduate school is like that, but she was older than most of us. As the women in the department, fellow students, we would say to her, you should, research this topic, that topic, and usually it's topic about women, Finally, one day she got fed up with that. She pounded the counter. She would feed us. We would go and eat with her. And again, they got into like, not just the women, but other people. It's like, oh, maybe you should research this, research that, And it's all usually, since you are a woman, you should research about women in Buddhism, Finally, one day, in the middle of all of that, she pounded on the table, and we were like, oh, yeesh. And she's like, I'm not a woman. I'm like, and then she said, I'm a Buddhist nun. That kind of got all of us like, oh, yeah. Part of the act of becoming a monk or nun is to say, I have put that behind me now. Don't define me in those terms. It's like, ooh. She's like, these are your stuff. She's saying, these are your stuff. But okay, I can tell you a little bit more. Don't think she has not had her share of being badly treated because she's a woman, including abuse. I now, she has written her memoir. I'm trying to help her get it published. It's just unimaginable what she has gone through. Yeah? So her statement doesn't come from some kind of naive, like, I'm a nun. Oh, she's had a really hard life. And going through things that, in the Buddhist context, being treated very badly. But she never gave up on the Dharma. Never gave up on the Dharma. So that's the Tara spirit, Never give up. And if it gets difficult, I'm going to go the difficult way. It's just what she did at every step. It's quite clear to me. She took the harder way. So that's the Tara principle, That's how you can be steadfast in the midst of all the difficulties. So across, so I would say, even though, yes, you can trace the history and the development. So the figure of Kuan Yin in East Asia, called Kannon, Kanzeom, in all of East Asia. Yes, Kuan Yin is, you can track the development. It's the East Asian development of the figure of Avalokiteshvara, which is predominantly male in South Asia, in North Asia, in the Himalayan region. Avalokiteshvara, Buddha of compassion, Bodhisattva of compassion, is male. And Kuan Yin is the East Asian, usually. But in terms of the principle, then you could say Kuan Yin is much more a Tara figure in these terms. as in the feminine aspect and the motherly aspect. It's a strong, it's a dominant theme. In the same way that East Asians, not just Buddhists, even people who may not identify with the label Buddhist, in times of danger, in times of difficulty, everybody kind of looks in the direction of Kuan Yin for protection, for safety. Yeah. So you could say Tara in East Asia is basically the figure of Kuan Yin. And Tara, in now the new lands of Buddhism, in the Western land, and especially in Latin America, it's the Virgin. It's that same kind of principle there. Of course, the specific connotations may be different. For example, like the suffering imagery is not so strongly associated with Tara, the suffering mother. That is not so strong in the Tara kind of devotion. But in terms of offering protection, offering safety, definitely it is resonant.
Sometimes it seems like it gets reduced to this mummy Tara,
Yeah, I think different people, again, relate to Tara differently.
which is too bad because
Yeah.
it's really enlightened the ultimate.
Uh-huh. Yeah, many layers to Tara lore and Tara devotion,
It's interesting how it comes to the West. Avalokiteshvara, we would look at, is it a male or female,
Mhm.
And they said the trans community claimed her.
Yeah, more so in Avalokiteshvara is, unambiguously male in Tibetan, Himalayan, Indian.
But when
It's in East Asia, the Kuan Yin figure. And when Atisha went from Bengal all the way to central Tibet, if you go to certain places in central Tibet now, more than one place for sure, because I saw a few places, there are rock images of Tara, some more obvious than others, that tradition says it's what they call self-arising. That means nobody carved it, but it formed in such a way that it has the form of Tara. So tradition attributes this to the protection of Tara, the protection that Tara gave to Atisha in this dangerous journey from Bengal and India to Tibet. It said that 21 times he almost gave up. And each time Tara would appear and say, I'm with you, don't give up. Then the Tara would dissolve into some rock and there's a Tara figure. So there are several places in Tibet that identifies this. Then across Nepal especially, and some places in northern India, there are also places where you have such images of Tara, like miraculous images in Catholicism, speaking Taras and things like that, especially in Nepal. You can find many of such stories. So this Tara figure and principle is strongly part of Tibetan Himalayan traditions. And as I said, also very interestingly, then all the great scholars of Indian Buddhism often is said that their chosen deity, their Ishta Devata, their Idam, is Tara. So in our text, in our practice text, or the one that I'm introducing to you this weekend, 34, right? It says, chant this 21 homages to Tara twice. So where did this tradition of chanted twice, chanted 3 times, chanted 7 times? It comes from, so the original 21 verses of homage comes with a conclusion section where it specifically says, if you chant for 2 times, if you chant for 3 times, if you chant for 7 times, then whatever you wish for can be fulfilled. And so picking up from there, then this liturgy does this, at the first round, repeat 2 times. At the second round, repeat 3 times. At the third round, repeat 7 times. Now page 35. Nat, can you take that bamboo? There is saffron water there. Can you add? It says here, for the second mandala offering to Tara, which is actually the third mandala of the fourfold mandala, but it's the second mandala offering to Tara, replenish the offerings. So you replenish by, meaning add some. Om, everything is the treasury of space, which is emptiness from within vast vessels, outer and inner offering clouds emerge from Om's filling entirety of infinite space. Om Sarva Puja Mega Samudra Saparana Samaye Ahum. Form from an ocean of offering materials for the ocean of victors in an ocean of realms. Ocean-like masses of offering clouds to you, ocean of qualities, you noble lady, your retinue I offer with an ocean of faith. Please grant the cities. Om Aryatare Saparivara Bajra Argyam Padya Pushpe Dhupe Aloke Kende Nevede Shabda Prati Sarva Pratija Sarva Puja Ho. Then mandala offering. This is the second mandala to Tara. This ground sprinkled with scented waters and strewn with flowers, adorned with the supreme mountain, continent, sun and moon, I hold in mind as a Buddha land and offer it. May all wandering beings experience such a pure realm. O Ratna Mandala Puja Mega Samudra Saparana Samaye Ahong. So in this second mandala offering to Tara, there is a kind of specific function for when we are reciting the 21 homages 3 times. And here, these 4 lines. Beneath the right hand of the noble lady, in the gesture of granting protection, I and all those to be protected are gathered from the 8 and 16 types of discordant conditions, and all the masses of fears are shielded and find relief. And so here there is the tradition of what's called the 8 and 16 fears, major and minor types of dangers. So the visualization here is beneath the right hand of the noble lady Tara. So left hand is still in the 3 jewels holding the lotus, the blue lotus. And then the right hand here, here you can visualize Tara's right hand. Instead of in the giving gesture, now it's specifically granting protection, which is like this. Granting protection is like this. So then she is giving protection. So here, I and all those to be protected. So yourself, you see yourself basically under her protection. And then specifically, if there is someone, some people, some group, some situation that you want to specifically include under this protection right now because of some dangers, some threats they are experiencing, then you can also imagine, visualize all of them coming under Tara's protection. Specifically for this 3 recitations. So now we go back to page 26. When we do these kinds of recitations, we don't want to think too much about every line and what it means. But rather to get in the rhythm of the flow of the chant. And then slowly, like sprinkles. It's like they say, for rain to be really good for the ground, it's not the kind of the strong rain. It's this gentle, fall of rain over long periods of time. Then the ground can absorb. So think of the recitation in this way. There are, I'll give you the references later. There are books, many different books, 4 or 5 at least, that goes into each of the 21, unpacking that, and different traditions of associating this particular verse with this particular Tara who has this particular function and this particular function. There's also the tradition of each of these having their own mantras. And then there's a tradition in the Longchen Nyingma tradition of explaining the outer inner secret, the 3 layers of meaning for each of these verses. So if you have interest in kind of deepening your understanding of the Tara practice, you can always refer to that. But in the end, right, reading all those things, they should only be kind of at the back of your mind. And you do this practice, or this kind of practice, then you could say the lived meaning of these verses would arise. When you don't plan it, you don't expect it, a particular line, you will gain kind of a deeper understanding. That's where it comes. So, heartfelt. Heartfelt connecting Tara on the rep and Tara on the level of the principle of Tara. So one anecdote that I've shared, which I read about, there was a Buddhist teacher in the Gamma Kagyu tradition, Trale Kyabgon Rinpoche, who passed away maybe 10 years ago. But he had a community in New York, I think, and also eventually his community in Australia became really strong. Then I think he moved to Australia. I met some of his students at one conference, and from them I learned that many of his students in Australia, psychologists, therapists, people in mental health. So one time, this Rinpoche was invited to some conference, mental health conference, and so Rinpoche was talking about Tara as an example. He was illustrating some point, and one of his students took that opportunity to kind of thinking, like I'm gonna get him to commit to one clear answer, and so then they're like question and answer during that time, and the student goes, Rinpoche, listening to you talk about Tara, sometimes you talk about Tara like she's some real person, but other times you talk about Tara in a way that it's not talking about like an actual real person. So is Tara real or not real? So then Rinpoche's answer, which is what we need to understand, when we relate to deity and then specific to Tara in our kind of Tara practice. And Rinpoche says, Tara is real. But she knows she's not real. Right? So Tara is real. Are your fears real? Yes. Are the dangers real? Yes. And therefore the one who delivers you from danger, also real. Or real enough. Real enough not to be ignored. Not to pretend, Just because you bury your head in the sand doesn't mean, the predator is gone. It's real. Real enough. But if you are stuck on the level of the danger is real, the deliverer of danger is also real, then you will never become free from the dangers. Tara cannot continuously bail you out. Tara liberates by finally getting you to see that it's not real. So we're working, especially in Buddhist practice, whether it's Tara practice or not, beyond Tara practice, we're working with this tension between relative and ultimate truth. But there's only a tension on the level of not understanding. When you understand, then there is no tension. The inseparability of relative and ultimate. Right now, you cannot. Right now, at times you kind of lean on this side, at times you lean on this side. But know that you are making progress in your Tara practice when you are able to move closer to this answer. Tara is real, but she knows she's not real.
Is there a practice to help you find that middle?
This.
This is it. Okay.
All of this. love this.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know? Repeat the 21 homages 100,000 times. It comes from that. There's no other hack. No other more convenient way. One of our senior teachers, Kyabje Gajen Rinpoche, when he talks about how Tara saved him from dying several times in his life. He was in the Chinese prison for over 20 years. When he talks about those cases, those incidences, yeah, it's real. The danger he was in. And it's real, he didn't die. He's still in Arizona because those few cases of near death, but then rescued by Tara. So it's real. But where Tara finally liberates us is the liberation of knowing that it's not real. Om homage to you, Bhagavati Arya Tara. Homage to Tara, swift and courageous, gazes as quick as flashes of lightning. From Lord of Triloka, his face like a lotus, you rose on a billionfold blossoming stamens. Homage to you with a face that resembles a meeting of 100 full moons in autumn, and who with the brightness of stars by the thousands shine in a vast perfect light of resplendence. Homage to you, the golden-hued lady, whose hand is adorned by a blue lotus flower. Your scope of activity is giving exertion, fortitude, peace, tolerance, meditation. Homage to you, the victorious, boundless, from the Tathagata's crown emanated, those who obtain every transcendent virtue. Offspring of victors rely on your guidance. Homage to you, filling the realm of desire, its aspect and space with the Hong and Tuttara. Sevenfold worlds under feet you can trample. You bring all and everything under your power. Homage to you who is worshipped by Indra, Agni, Marud, Vishweswara and Brahma. All the Vetalas, Buddhas, Gandharvas, as well as the Yakshas give praise in your presence. Homage to you who by tread and the path sounds crush every magical wheel, evil forces. Standard and left bent you trample, within whirling flames you are blazing intensely. Homage to you, the swift terrifying, who conquers the most tenacious of Maras. Knitting the brow on your lotus-like features, you slay every foe without an exception. Homage to you with your fingers in mudra, adorning your heart to show the three jewels. Your masses of light are beautiful swirling, connecting with every direction in circles. Homage to you from your crown manifesting joyous, majestic, brilliant garlands with the great clangor of laughter to Tara. Demons and worlds are in your domination. Homage to you with the magnetized powers, who gather protectors of earth in assembly. With syllable Hong in your brow which is frowning, you liberate every poor destitute being. Homage to you with the crescent and moon crown, while your adornments so brilliantly sparkle. And Amitabha is placed in your top knot, ceaselessly vast rays of light radiating. Homage to you seated in flaming garlands, engulfed in the fire like the end of the Kalpa. right leg extended and left bend defeating, enemy hordes with your joy bringing swirling. To you with your palms you are striking the earth while using your feet to be stamping, regally frowning with the Hong letter. You shatter the sevenfold layers of locusts. Homage to you, blissful, virtuous, and peaceful. Enjoy the domain of the tranquil nirvana, fully possessing the Om and the Swaha. You overcome even the greatest of evils. Homage to you who, encircled by joyous, utterly smashes the forms of opponents, clearing away with the hum of awareness, arranges the mantra by tenfold of letters. Homage to you with feet stamping Ture, fully presenting the form of the Hong seed. You cause the three worlds to all be a tremble, including Mount Meru, Mandara, and Vindhya. Homage to you in whose hand is a deer marked, shaped like the Deva's ocean of elixir, sound of the pet and Tara, without an exception dispels every poison. Homage to you who is asked for your guidance by rulers of Devas, by gods and Kinnaras. Your armor of joy, a radiant brightness, removes every nightmare and calms every quarrel. Homage to you whose two eyes are shining with brilliant light like the sun and the full moon. By Tutara and with the twice chanted Hara, you clear away even infectious diseases. Homage to you who can come down completely through the array of the threefold suchness. Crowds of Vetalas, Buddhas, and Yakshas, suppressed with the two rays sublime Mother Tara. Back to 26. Homage to Tara, swift and courageous, gazes as quick as flashes of lightning. From Lord of Triloka, his face like a lotus. You rose on a billionfold blossoming stamens. Homage to you with a face that resembles a meeting of 100 full moons in autumn, and who with the brightness of stars by the thousands shine in the vast perfect light of resplendence. Homage to you, the golden-hued lady, whose hand is adorned by a blue lotus flower. Your scope of activity is giving exertion, fortitude, peace, tolerance, meditation. Homage to you, the victorious, boundless, from the Tathagata's crown emanated. Offspring of victors rely on your guidance. Homage you fulfilling the realms of desire. Its aspect and space with the Hong and Tutara. Sevenfold worlds under feet you can trample. You bring all and everything under your power. Homage to you who is worshipped by Indra, Nimarut, Visheshwara, and Brahma. As Buddhas and Gandharvas, as well as the Yakshas, give praise in your presence. Homage to you who by tread and the pet sounds crush every magical wheel evil forces. Right leg extended and left bend you trample. Within whirling flames you are blazing intensely. Homage to you, the swift terrifying, who conquers the most tenacious of Maras. Knitting the brow on your lotus-like features, you slay every foe without an exception. Homage to you with your fingers in mudra, adorning your heart to show the three jewels. Your masses of light are beautiful swirling, connecting with every direction in circles. Homage to you from your crown manifesting joyous, majestic, brilliant garlands with the great clangor of laughter to Tara. Demons and worlds are in your domination. Homage to you with the magnetized powers, who gather protectors of earth in assembly. With Hong and your brow which is frowning, you liberate every poor destitute being. Homage to you with the crescent and moon crown, while your ornaments so brilliantly sparkle, and Amitabha is placed in your top knot, ceaselessly radiating. Homage to you seated in flaming garlands, engulfed in a fire like the end of the Kalpa, right leg extended and left hand defeating enemy hordes with your joy-bringing swirling. Palms you are striking the earth while using your feet to be stamping, regally frowning with the Hong letter. You shatter the 7 4 layers of locusts. Homage to you, blissful, virtuous, and peaceful. Enjoy the domain of the tranquil nirvana, fully possessing the Om and the Swaha. We overcome even the greatest of evils. Homage to you who encircled by joyous, utterly smashes the forms of opponents, clearing away with the hum of awareness, arranges the mantra by tenfold of letters. Homage to you with feet tamping Ture, fully presenting the form of the Hong seed. You cause the 3 worlds to all be a tremble, including Mount Meru, Mandara, and Vindhya. Homage to you in whose hands is a deer marked, shaped like the Deva's ocean of elixir, sound of the pet and Troysatar Tara, without an exception dispels every poison. Homage to you who is asked for your guidance by rulers of Devas, by gods and Kinnaras. Your armor of joy, a radiant brightness, removes every nightmare and calms every quarrel. Homage to you whose eyes are shining with brilliant light like the sun and the full moon. By Tutara and with the twice chanted Hara, you clear away even infectious diseases. Homage to you who can come down completely through the array of the threefold suchness. Crowds of Vetalas, Buddhas, and Yakshas, suppressed with the 2 rays of blind Mother Tara. 26 again. Homage to Tara, swift and courageous, gazes as quick as flashes of lightning. From Lord of Triloka, his face like a lotus, you rose on a billionfold blossoming stamens. Homage to you with a face that resembles a meeting of 100 full moons in autumn, and who with the brightness of stars by the thousands shine in a vast perfect light of resplendence. Homage to you, the golden-hued lady, whose hand is adorned by a blue lotus flower. Your scope of activity is giving exertion, fortitude, peace, tolerance, meditation. Homage to you, the victorious, boundless. From the top that this crown emanated, those who obtain every transcendent virtue, offspring of victors, rely on your guidance. Homage to you, filling the realm of desire, its aspect and space with the Hong and Tutara. 7-fold worlds under feet you can trample. You bring all and everything under your power. Homage to you who is worshipped by Indra, Agni, Maru, Visheshwara, and Brahma. Vetalas, Buddhas, Gandharvas, as well as the Yakshas give praise in your presence. Homage to you who by tread and the pet sounds crush every magical wheel evil forces. Right leg extended and left bent you trample. Within whirling flames you are blazing intensely. Homage to you, the swift terrifying, who conquers the most tenacious of Maras. knitting the brow on your lotus-like features. You slay every foe without an exception. Homage to you with your fingers in mudra, adorning your heart to show the three jewels. Your masses of light are beautiful, swirling, connecting with every direction in circles. Homage to you from your crown manifesting, joyous, majestic, brilliant garlands, with the great clangor of laughter to Tara. Demons and worlds are in your domination. Homage to you with the magnetized powers, who gather protectors of earth in assembly. With syllable hung and your brow which is frowning, you liberate every poor destitute being. Homage to you with the crescent and moon crown, while your adornments so brilliantly sparkle. And Amitabha is placed in your top knot, ceaselessly vast rays of light radiating. Homage to you seated in flaming garlands, engulfing the fire like the end of the kalpa. Right leg extended and left bend defeating enemy hordes with your joy-bringing swirling. Homage to you with your palms you are striking the earth while using your feet to be stamping. You shatter the sevenfold layers of locusts. Homage to you, blissful, virtuous, and peaceful. Enjoy the domain of the tranquil nirvana, fully possessing the Om and the Swaha. You overcome even the greatest of evils. Homage to you who encircled by joyous, just the forms of opponents, clearing away with the hung of awareness, arranges the mantra by tenfold of letters. Homage to you with feet stamping Ture, fully presenting the form of the home seed. You cause the three worlds to all be a tremble, including Mount Meru, Mandara, and Vindhya. Homage to you in whose hands is a deer marked, shaped like the Deva's ocean of elixir, sound of the pet and the Tritatara. Without an exception dispels every poison. Homage to you who is asked for your guidance by rulers of Devas, by gods and Kinnaras. Your armor of joy, a radiant brightness, removes every nightmare and calms every quarrel. Homage to you whose two eyes are shining with brilliant light like the sun and the full moon. By Tutara and with the twice-chanted Hara, you clear away even infectious diseases. Homage to you who can come down completely through the array of the threefold suchness. Crowds of Vetalas, Buddhas, and Yakshas, suppressed with the Ture sublime Mother Tara. Now 37. Or rather 38. This is another supplication called protection in 7 verses. On 38. So again, this image, this visualization of Tara with her right hand offering protection, protecting all those that are in particular need of being kept safe, being protected, including those who are making their passage through the intermediate state from this to the next life. That in many ways is more dangerous. So we should not only have such a limited view of danger simply means, being kept safe and alive now. All parts, all throughout the journey in samsara, we are in danger, needing Tara's protection is why we invoke her. In the mother, the birthless Dharma Dhatu, dwells noble goddess Mother Tara, bestowing happiness on all sentient beings. Pray protect me from all dangers. Realizing ourselves as Dharmakaya, the mind is instead overpowered by kleshas, and so Mother sends wonder in samsara. Mother Goddess, pray protect us. Dharma hasn't been born in the heart, we only follow after words and are misled by base philosophical views. Mother, perfect God, pray protect us. It is difficult to realize one's mind. Since it, we have not familiarized it, but instead are engrossed. Deeds, Mother, Goddess of recollection, pray protect us. Is naturally existing non-dual wisdom, but due to the habitual propensity of stick fixation, beings are bound no matter what they do. Goddess of non-dual exalted mind, pray protect us. Although some say they abide, they do not know the interdependence of cause and effect, and are confused about the reality of knowable things. Mother, all-knowing Goddess, pray protect us. Characteristic of space is freedom from constructs, and everything is no different from that. So for disciples who are ordinary persons, Mother Perfect Buddha, pray protect us. So the note here say, and this is famous as the prayer offered by the victorious Lord Kyopa Jigten Sumgön while he was in the cave of Echung and beheld a vision of the 7 faces of Tara. So this comes from the life of Kyopa Jigten Sumgön, the founder of the lineage, when he was engaged in extended retreat after the passing of his teacher, in a time where he was suffering the danger of giving up, basically. He had a vision of the 7 Taras that appeared, and seeing these 7 Taras, he composed these 7 verses in praise of Tara. So if you look at these 7 verses, you in a way you can say there is more doctrinal content. The famous homage in 21 verses, they are, at least on the surface level, talking more about all the different harms that we ordinarily conceive of as harms, dangers, and how Tara rescues us from those dangers. So you can say those are like the outer harm. And the 7 protections, the first verse is signaling in the direction of those types of dangers. Bestowing happiness on all sentient beings. Pray, protect me from all dangers. On page 38. Then the rest, from there, is mostly focused on the what you may call on the inner dangers. The dangers while along the path to awakening. So this prayer begins in addressing Mother Tara as the birthless Dharmadhatu. What is the Dharmadhatu? The Dharmadhatu is the reality of all of existence. But right now, due to the obscurations, due to the mental defilements, we experience all of this as samsara, which is the cycle of birth and death, the cycle marked by suffering, marked by dukkha. But the actual status, the actual nature of all of this, what we call reality, what we call our universe, is the realm of reality, which is what Dharma Dhatu means. Dhatu is realm, sphere. Dharma, in this case, is reality, the reality. So the mother is also the birthless reality. So this is the ultimate nature. So this first verse invokes the ultimate nature, which is the nature of reality. This is the real mother. This is why Buddhas can arise, Buddhas can appear, because the natural state is this mother, is this birthless realm of reality. Birthless means, there was never a time when it came into existence. There was never a time when it came into existence. And even now, so then, you may say, oh, you mean like it exists, it's always existed? Not exactly. Meaning it's also not saying that since there was never a time that it came into existence, then you may be tempted to say, oh, so it's always been here. And not exactly either. Especially if you think always been here means some kind of permanence. Oh, it's always been here. See, in the end, right, when the Buddha advised against, warned against not straying into one of these two extremes called nihilism or essentialism, or often translated as eternalism, right? Nihilism and eternalism, right? So it has always, there was never a time it was not here. Sounds like a statement that is saying, and therefore it has always been here. But it would be a mistake to think in terms of it has always been here in the kind of eternalist way, in that essentialized way. So what is a potential take-home lesson? The take-home lesson that I think you and I can work on to try to take home is when the Buddha critiqued this position that he called nihilism and eternalism, which are modes of belief, modes of thinking about things, right? That either conceive of things as always like this, or nothing is at all like this. So these two general kind of positions, what is the real problem? The real problem is, if when you believe or you commit to either of these positions, you come to the conclusion of, therefore, nothing to do. Therefore, nothing to do.
There's also an element of things, nothing matters.
If you come to that conclusion, then it's a problem.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Nothing to do. So the Buddha's fundamental problem with either types of belief is believing in any of these entails the conclusion nothing matters, nothing to do. Now, if we were already actualized Buddhas and we say nothing to do, well, there's no problem with that. But because right now we have not actualized Buddhahood, and if we say nothing to do, what does that mean? That means we will continue to wallow in the mud of suffering than nothing to do. So the historical Buddha, when he debated the so-called 6 heretical positions, if you examine each of those positions, basically his problem with them, he's not even, I would argue, he's not even that concerned about like these 6 positions as metaphysical positions. Like if you want to just think about it, fine. It's when you believe in any of these 6 positions, it renders action meaningless. Yeah, when it renders actions meaningless, when you think, therefore, doesn't matter what I do or don't do, then it's an error. So we come back, right? In simple terms. Giving up the 10 non-virtues, cultivating the 10 virtues for our own sake, for the sake of others, and finally, that is the definition of Buddha. So 3 vows, right? Individual liberation vow for our own sake. Bodhisattva vow for the sake of all. Third, it's not even about my sake, others' sake. There is no other choice. This is how Buddhas behave. Kind of like the way Dogen, the founder of Soto Zen, talks about practice. He says practice is not a means to an end. Or in that system, sitting, only sitting. That's how they translate shikantaza, only sitting. That's like what do Dogen says, what do you practice? You practice only sitting, shikantaza. He says, but shikantaza is not a means to an end. Why should we sit? Because Buddhas sit. There is nothing else. That is the activity of Buddhahood. That is the activity of Buddhahood. There are lots of junk, obviously, on Facebook. There's also gems. Recently I saw someone said, I forgot who. Shunryu Suzuki, one of these giants of American or Buddhism in the West, and the author of the series of talks that was edited into Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind. Very, very helpful, this. There is no perfect people, but there are perfect actions. Yeah? So focus on that. When it's about perfecting myself, right? Perfect people, we have fallen back into the trap of identifying with the self, improving the self. Now the self is not accessorizing with the latest handbag and the men and women, handbags. The latest handbag, the latest fragrance. And now we are accessorizing with halos, But both are still puffing up this imaginary self. So there are no perfect people, but there can be perfect actions. So actions of body, speech, and mind. Yes?
In a similar vein, I think he also said, everything is perfect, and there's lots of room for improvement. I've always really enjoyed it.
Yeah, everything is perfect. Perfectly here, right? So, rather than always falling back into the trap of feeding this delusion of I, me, mine, even wanting to take this to Buddhahood, leave that aside. Don't fixate, don't identify. And so here, this birthless Dharma Dhatu, you should understand it as it's birthless, meaning there was never a time when it came into existence. And therefore the other side of this is there is never a time it goes out of existence. And does that mean it's permanent? No. It doesn't mean it's permanent. It's also where I like to point out, when we say non-dual, we're not saying one. We're just saying not two. So, it's not a Buddhist bumper sticker, all one. Just because it's non-dual, it doesn't mean it's one. It just is saying not two. Not two. Okay. So we will break here. It's almost 12:15 in local time here. 12:15. We come back at 1:30. Changchu Sem Cho Rinpoche Ma Ge Ba Nam Ge Gyu Chi Ge Ba Nyam Ba